Gorgon to share teaspoons of coffee and build huts out of grass. Fitsam Kidanemariam is just walking laps around the camp. He says art is what really makes him happy. But back home, he had to work in construction.
There's no money.
He says there's no money in art. He takes me to what looks like an abandoned school building. Dozens of people are lying on the floor. On a windowsill, he's lined up sculptures. He's made them out of rocks he's found in the camp. One of the sculptures has the face of a lion on one side and the face of a woman on the other. The woman is forgiving and respectful. The lion, like warring men, he says, will lash out at the slightest touch. He says he sculpts every day trying to forget the violence. He says he spent hours sculpting this rock, dreaming of a different life where humans were less like lions. Ada Pralta, NPR News, in Sudan, along the Ethiopian border.
Gerald Post has died from COVID-19. He was a man who knew world leaders and what really made them tick.
He talks about economics in a very simplistic way, and one almost gets a sense in his description of his views of Russia that if he commands it, it will occur. And there's almost a Ross Perot-like character, as if his very persona and his very loyalty to Russia should be enough.
That was Post on this program in 1996, assessing General Alexander Lebed, who had taken third place in Russia's presidential election.
Gerald Post was a psychiatrist and founded the CIA's Center for the Analysis of Personality and Political Behavior. For more than 2 decades, he profiled world leaders, assessing their strengths and vulnerabilities. Among them, Saddam Hussein of Iraq, Kim Jong-il of North Korea, and Anwar Sadat of Egypt.
Post delivered his analysis to the highest levels of the U.S. government. He interviewed terrorists, studied suicide bombers, and after September 11, 2001, he told NPR's Morning Edition that the war to come would not be won with traditional methods.
This is a war for people's minds. This is a particularly vicious species of psychological warfare waged with these symbolic acts. And you don't combat psychological warfare with bombs and missiles. You combat it with psychological warfare.
After Post left government, he started a consulting business and taught at Georgetown. According to his daughter, Mary Gramlich, he saw patients virtually until the week before his death. Gramlich calls her father curious and inquisitive.
He'd have 3 newspapers, and he'd have piles of books, and he'd say, did you read this, and what do you think of this? And he'd share his opinion. There'd be people at the dining room table just listening rapt to his ideas about what was going on in the world. What does your dad think of this? We're always asked. What would he say about this?
He wrote books of his own. One of them, called Dangerous Charisma, profiled President Trump. It broke the American Psychiatric Association's so-called Goldwater rule, which prevents medical professionals from commenting on the mental health of political candidates.
He's not a why guy, he's a why not guy.
That's another daughter, Cindy Post. She says her father respected the APA and was a longtime member, but she says he thought publishing that analysis was worth the risk.
If this was against their rules, then so be it, because he felt that their rules needed attention and needed review. Immediately, if not sooner.
Last month, Gerald Post became one of more than 283,000 people in the U.S. to die from COVID-19. He was 86 years old.
You're listening to All Things Considered from NPR News.
I'm Tiziana Deering. Local journalism faces an existential threat, and the pandemic has intensified. But WBUR has one of the strongest local newsrooms in the country, thanks to the generosity of listeners who trust and believe in us. We need your help to keep our newsroom strong, especially as we face so much uncertainty. Please give if you can, as generously as you can, at WBUR.org.
I'm Lisa Mullins with Megan Chakrabarty. We're asking you to give right now before we go back to the news from All Things Considered. We're going to be hearing from a food service worker talking about the toll the pandemic has taken on her industry as Los Angeles makes an $800 stipend available to 4,000 service workers. So many stories in the news, and you have relied for a long time, I know many of you have on WBUR, to bring you the news with accountability, with authority, going to the right sources, and we know that you appreciate it because you've supported it in the past. We ask you to support it right now to keep us strong, because we're going to have to be strong for the year to come and all the news stories that are coming on, especially with the presidential transition underway, with the dissemination of vaccines for the coronavirus. Make your phone call right now and support it at 1-800-909-9287, WBUR.org.
And this is our year-end fundraiser, so the last for this historic 2020, and it's shorter than usual. We're going to just keep it to a tight 5 days with these, trying to make these minimal interruptions to the news. So help make this shorter fundraiser successful as possible, because we're basically trying to do the work that we would take twice the time. We're trying to do that in just 5 days in order to position us to keep covering the news with as much strength and clarity as possible for what is certainly to be a historic 2021. So call us now at 1-800-909-9287 to support those efforts, or go online to WBUR.org.
And by the way, those efforts never end. I mean, you can listen to us 24/7, and you will always hear something that edifies you, something that maybe entertains you as well. WBUR is there for you, and certainly WBUR.org with original content, and that's what you're paying for. That's where your money is going. Again, 1-800-909-9287, WBUR.org. We have a special offer, and it's a very popular one as well. It's for the New Yorker magazine, a year-long subscription for your pledge right now of $10 a month. Usually it's $15 a month, but up until 7 o'clock tonight, you can get it for $10. So please pledge your support. That's just an added incentive for you to make your contribution now to WBUR. And we have a limited number of those subscriptions, so please make the call, 1-800-909-9287, WBUR.org.
And it's a great deal, but you got to call before 7 to get that deal. So 800-909-9287 or WBUR.org, and you are supporting this station. You might get the New Yorker as well, which is a terrific gift, but you're supporting this station, your local public